Hello chess friends, and welcome to Azarov's chess channel, and welcome to my chess tactics and chess puzzles series. So we already did 3 videos about the demolition of a pawn structure. We covered the attacks on h7, g7 and f7, and of course on the other side on f2, g2 and h2. Today it's time to occupy the 6th rank. So of course a demolition of a pawn structure is also possible on the 6th rank. But the funny thing about the demolition of a pawn structure is that you don't have to attack even a pawn. Sometimes sacrifices on g6 and h6 are possible even if there's no pawn. So we try basically to weaken the king side after castling. So today's attack will be on the square h6 or on the pawn which is placed on the square h6. So in the last move here black played the move f6, and now we search for a sacrifice on h6. This is a position from a game between Svetozar Gligoric and Norman Littlewood. It was played in 1964 in Hastings, and now Svetozar Gligoric finds a really nice attack here on h6, which will basically paralyze and deflect all of the pieces from the defense of the king. So of course after knight takes on h6 we have here g takes h6, and now queen to g4. You see, this is possible because this bishop is really blocking out the queen from the defense on the 7th rank, and this bishop will be really a problem in the continuation of the game because it is blocked out by its own pieces. And I've talked many times about this coordination between bishops and pawns. You want to have, of course, your pawns on the light squares if you have a dark square bishop. So you see this is perfectly fine for white here. Meanwhile, you see black has this very weak bishop here on e7, and of course it's a problem. Black still needs one move in order to bring the queen into defense here of the king, of course, and meanwhile white can use this tempo and bring other pieces into the game. The other thing that I want you here to notice is this I always talk about the space advantage. You see, meanwhile we have occupied the 5th rank. We have placed here the pawn on the 5th rank. Meanwhile we gain some space, and that allows us to play maybe a rook lift through f3, then g3, and maybe h3. So that's all possible because we created this very nice space advantage. And when you create the space advantage with your pawn, you want to play on that side where you have created the space advantage. So of course you see we have created a space advantage on the king side. That's why we're gonna attack on the king side. If we have a space advantage on the queen side, maybe with moves with the pawn on c5, of course we will coordinate our attack on the queen side. So that's of course now it's a different position because we have already attacked it, but you see Gligoric also coordinated his attack on the king side, and this sacrifice of the knight on h6, it was possible because of that. So after queen on g4 we have king on h8, and now queen on h5. Of course we want to take the pawn with the queen, and now black plays here the move bishop to d6. You see, bishop to c5 is not good because we will simply deflect the queen from the defense here on the 7th rank. So then we can play check and bring the other rook into the game through f3 and then g3 and checkmate even black. So this bishop has only one square, and that's the problem that I've talked about. You see, this is a really bad position for the bishop. And after bishop on d6, Gligoric uses here another tactical motif. He uses the deflection, and I've talked about the deflection also in my chess tactics and chess puzzles videos. And you see Gligoric uses 2 tactical motifs here, and he creates here a really nice attack. Of course, if black takes here the bishop on b6, then we have here queen to h6, then the king to g8, then we can play again queen to g6, and then with the rook on f3 and then rook on h3, it's checkmate is unavoidable. So you see, this pawn is stronger there even than these two pieces by black, and that's why I want you really to pay attention of this space advantage that you can create. That means that you have already placed your pawn, or maybe you have a very nice piece here. Maybe we could have here a knight or something, so it's occupying really the other side of the board, so your opponent's half of the board, and this attack is really nice. So after bishop to b6, of course black is not interested to take this bishop, so we have now bishop takes on a5. Of course now we have equal material, but that's not the point. We want to bring our rook here on f3, h3, and attack here, or maybe rook on f3, then rook on g3. So the rook lift, as I said, is possible. If black tries something like e5, we can simply bring the other rook into the game. So you see, this space advantage is a huge one, and now it's black's turn. So of course black is trying the counter attack here with this simple threatening of mate here on g2, but Grigorich played here queen on h3. We have here now rook on c8, and Grigorich is not interested to defend this pawn because it would be a lack of tempo. Then he coordinates his attack and plays the very active move rook on e4. So now the threat is, of course, to play here this deflection move. Again, he tries this deflection. If the queen then takes here this rook, then we have queen on h6 immediately checkmate. So this is a really annoying attack. So after rook on c2, we have here this move rook on g4. We have queen on h7, rook takes on g8, and now if the king takes on g8, we have queen to b3 and taking the rook, of course. That's why after rook on g8, we have queen takes on g8, and now the queen is deflected from the defense of this h6 pawn. So this is, of course, now a better position for white. After queen on h7, we can take this other pawn. Queen takes on f6, queen to g7, now queen to h4. You see, black is simply using this queen for a defensive resource. Meanwhile, white's queen is very active. So we have queen on h7, now queen to e4 with an attack on the rook. The rook has to react. We have here rook on b2, and now h3, creating some breathing space. Of course, we have now possibilities to play with our rook through the c file and threatening here this move rook on c8. So here we have b3, a takes b3, rook takes on b3, and now this rook comes actively into the game. So black has to react. He wants to bring also his rook into the defense here on g8. You see, black is really crowded here with this queen. He doesn't have breathing space here, and we have here this of course this move rook on c8, rook on g8, and now rook on c6. And here's where black resigned, because he has to protect maybe here this bishop with moves as queen on b7, but we have here, of course, this in between move queen on h4. The continuation maybe could have been queen on h7, but we can immediately take here this queen, and after king takes, we can simply take the bishop, and of course it's a winning endgame for white. So here's another position. We have here let me take that back. We have here a game. It was played in 1993 between Gata Kamsky and Joe Lothier, and here we have again this motif, the sacrifice on h6. So of course Kamsky saw that. Here we have bishop takes on h6, g takes on h6, queen takes on h6, and the threat is, of course, now you see we have this discovered attack on the queen, and I've also done this discovered attack also in my chess tactics and chess puzzle series. So you see, these top grandmasters, they use combined chess tactics, and of course they see all that stuff. That's why they are the top grandmasters. And now black has to react. He wants to create at least some space for the king, but now we have this bishop to c4. The queen has to be defended with bishop to d7, and now again the rook lift. You see, this rook lift comes really often in this tactical motifs. You have to keep that in mind when the rooks comes one time into the game. It has to be used for mating threats. So after bishop on f8, we have here this very nice move, queen to g6. Of course, black cannot take because of the pin on the king. So you see again, Gamskat uses another tactical motif. He uses here the pin. So we have here bishop to g7, and now queen takes on f7, king on h6. Now the rook comes here very well into the game. We have here knight on h7, and now we have the sacrifice. Very nice. The king takes. Now we have queen on h5. Of course, bishop to h6 has to be played. Bishop to d3. King on g8, and here we have queen on h6, queen to e7. So this is now, of course, winning game for white, because he basically needs to bring his knight into the game. We have here the threat to play knight on f6. So after maybe bishop to f5, we have bishop to c4, which is a very nasty attack. After bishop on e6, we have here this move, knight on f6, and of course it's a winning game for white. So as I said, always this is a chess puzzle for you to solve at home. Keep in mind the tactical motif is the sacrifice on h6, and this meets with our mating picture that I've showed you in my demolition of a pawn structure with the sacrifice on h7. So you could maybe watch first this video then in order to solve this puzzle, because there is this most common mating picture, or this mating pattern, which is applied here in this game. And it was a game played by Paul Morphy, and of course Paul Morphy was one of the best tacticians in chess history. So of course this is one for you to solve at home. So guys, have fun, and you can also watch all of my chess tactics and chess puzzle series, and you can also watch my Magnus Carlsen versus Fabiano Caruana series, because of course today the World Championship starts, and we will all watch their games, of course. And guys, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thanks you for watching, and chess is the best.